Hello and welcome to yet another live session of Humanizing Lives. We are here with you all today. This has made a lot of us uncomfortable. It just has that power over you. Uh, we now have our guest. Welcome, Mimansa. I was just introducing you to the guests. Mimansa works with Fortis with the mental health department. Welcome aboard, Mimansa. How about you introduce yourself in a couple of lines here before we start with the actual session?
Hello, everyone. I'm a lead clinical psychologist with the Department of Mental Health and Behavioral Sciences, working with the department for the last 12 years now. Also heading the school mental health program, look at clinical supervisions across the center. We've been doing a lot of work, and school mental health program is something that we've been running for more than a decade now. So
Lovely.
I'm happy to be here.
Welcome, very warm welcome, Mimansa. We need this right now. We, some of us are in a very odd kind of fix here. So because of the COVID these days and the ongoing economic slump in the country has been leading a lot of us, the families, I mean to say, into a no money situation. As unfortunate as it is, I mean, this is something that a lot of us in today's time are struggling with. This could be a cause for mental and emotional stress as well as financial, of course. How does one deal with a situation like this? It's like nothing is in your control anymore.
I think the first thing that we all need to accept and acknowledge is the situation, the unprecedented nature of the situation, the uniqueness of the situation where we all are facing some form of stress, across globally. And we all are facing some kind of uncertainty, whether it comes to, our work, whether it comes to finances, whether it comes to loss of any kind of work or a career related concern, or it is even to do with the threat that we are having to our physical health and the kind of stresses that we are going to go through with the changes that are going to happen in the coming year because of the situation and in the context that we are in. So first come first, that anxiety in a situation like that, something we've never seen before, something we've never been prepared for, is normal. So a slight increase in anxiety for you, for me, for anybody else for that matter, is normal in the given scenario, because we are looking at a lot of changes for each one of us at different levels, no matter what background we come from, no matter what strata we come from. And yes, then when it comes to finances particularly, I mean, finances continue to be one of the very stressing, one of the key stresses in an individual's life, because of course, a lot of us, and each one of us are dependent on it, and we are running our houses and our families and our living based on that. So finances happens to be one of the very common stresses. And yes, when we are looking at that particularly, that does can also induce a bit of anxiety, in us when we're looking at the loss of that, in any which way.
Right. Uh, okay, so I'm going to kind of introduce you again here because we have Minnie who says we want to know a little about the psychologist on board today. So we have with us Mimansa Singh Tanwar. Mimansa happens to be a clinical leading psychologist in Delhi today. And she currently is working with Fortis Hospital in the mental health department. And just to introduce the topic to you all again, we are going to be talking about the financial management and the kind of stress that brings today when we are all living in very financially uncertain, economically uncertain times. And we don't know what we are, kind of expecting in tomorrow. So, Mimansa, you were talking about anxiety a lot. That takes me to this other kind of understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong. Uh, Usually, anxiety is a result of expectations. As an adult participant into the society, we all have certain benchmarks that we want to reach, and anything that creates any kind of hindrance in that process throws us into unexpected anxiety attack. No, some may have at a lower degree, some may have at a higher degree, but money issues are real and practical. Like, if it is only mental, maybe you can talk to yourself. You've been doing so many sessions on that. You can talk to yourself, you can maybe exercise or do something about it. But how does one talk to self or the members of the family about money matters or the upcoming crisis without raising an alarm there? Like comfort them and then talk to them. How does one do that?
So, Namita, there are two aspects to this, question. One is when we are looking at anxiety. Anxiety needs to be also understood in a biosocial context. That when we are looking at anxiety in a particular way, where it begins to impact us, where it also affects our functionality, where it also begins to make us feel overwhelmed because of any stressor which is there in the environment. We're also looking at the biological aspect, the biological component of anxiety, which contributes to anxiety. And then certainly, of course, there are psychosocial stresses in the environment. So whether it is finances, whether it is loss of a relationship, whether it is any other thing, that is going to aggravate anxiety and contribute to it as well. And particularly as individuals, how we approach a situation, that also places a lot of role over there. That whether we are somebody who tend to or have a tendency to be feeling more overwhelmed when a stressor comes in front of us, or are we someone who acknowledges the situation and then take it head on to have a problem solving approach by involving key support systems, reaching out for help, and reaching out to family support systems, reaching out to friends, colleagues, workplace. So all of these support systems that we can bring in to be able to resolve the problem at hand, having a problem solving approach also defines how we respond to a given situation in that sense. So yes, like I said, that when it comes to loss of finances, that continues to be one of the triggers of when anxiety does happen, because again, it's a loss of money, which we end up taking a lot more burden about. Although I also feel that along with that, it is very important to see and build a sense of hope that money is also something that can be recovered. It is also something that has a recovery period, as opposed to any other relationship, particularly that when there is a loss of relationship, there are times where we not be looking at a recovery in that sense. So money is something that also needs to be understood in that sense, that if there is a loss, there is going to be a recovery as well. What we need to look at is how we are able to manage that stress in the given time period when the loss has happened and you are strained and you probably need to seek help. So help seeking, reaching out to support systems is very, very important at that particular point in time. So whether it is, so a lot many times we feel very hesitant, specifically when we talk about money and reaching out for help for that. I think, it's always important to also flip our position and our other side. So if you're feeling very concerned and hesitant to talk to our parents about this, so you just take a moment to think about it in a different way. If it was your parents and you had to support them, so how we can think in a different direction and also see to be able to build empathy for each other. So if somebody is reaching out to you for help when it comes to monetary issues, when it comes to any kind of stress for that matter, in what way do you think you will be able to help them? Sometimes people are not able to help in terms of monetary, but can again contribute in terms of a problem solving approach of what can be done in this situation. Family can contribute in terms of a monetary situation. So how, again, different support system, how can they contribute in an empathetic way to an individual who is undergoing a stress when it comes to finances is very important.
Beautiful, beautifully put, Doctor. Just to kind of quickly summarize that in Hindi for some of our viewers, तो मीमांसा सिर्फ ये कहने की कोशिश कर रही है कि पैसे की कमी हो सकती है, लेकिन आपका नजरिया बहुत मायने रखता है. या तो आप अपने आसपास एक सपोर्ट ग्रुप क्रिएट करिए जिससे आप खुल के बातें करें, क्योंकि आज पैसे नहीं है कल आ सकते हैं और वो आ जाते हैं अमूमन. तो ये जो इमीडिएटली आपके सिर पर एक बर्डन आ गया, अच्छा अभी ईएमआई कैसे जाएगी, अभी जिंदगी कैसे आगे बढ़ेगी, उसको थोड़ा ठहर के सोचिए, हड़बड़ी में मत सोचिए. और या तो आप उस मार को झेल रहे हैं अर्थव्यवस्था की, या आप थोड़े सिक्योर हैं. तो अगर आप सिक्योर हैं तो प्लीज मदद करने की तरफ देखिए. कहीं कोई रिश्तेदार है, कहीं कोई दोस्त है, कहीं कोई साथी है जो शायद ऐसा कुछ झेल रहा हो. तो यहाँ पर वो कह रही हैं, प्लीज करेक्ट मी मीमांसा अगर मैं कुछ गलत बोल दूं इसमें, तो वो बस हल्के से आपको ये कह रही हैं कि थोड़ा सा नजरिया, रिश्ते खराब होते हैं, वो ज्यादा दर्द देते हैं, पैसे आ जाएंगे. इसी के साथ आगे बढ़ते हैं मीमांसा. So
Absolutely.
many of us in the last couple of years have gone through news where it is such a big burden, it is such a big panic attack, anxiety attack, that a lot of news of people committing suicide. I mean, one of the reports says that about 12,000 people have committed suicide in the past couple of years because of not being able to see any way out of their financial burdens. In certain cases, they've also ended up killing their entire family and then putting themselves to that kind
Right.
of uh, thing as well. So, it's a failed business or a loss of job. Can one really identify and avoid such triggers, like somebody feeling like that in my family or me feeling like that myself?
So one, suicide happens to be one of the largest leading causes of death globally. Hmm? And 90% of that happens because of some kind of mental illness, depression being the most common of them. Along with that, we have seen globally again that financial loss also continues to be one of the triggers of a lot of stress and feeling of overwhelmingness that an individual can go through in a time like that. So what we need to really understand is the kind of impact that it can have on an individual, and in a time like that we need to bring in an effect, an effect called Papageno effect. I'll just share what Papageno effect is. That it was an individual. Papageno was a person who was thinking of doing death by suicide, of getting into some actions of that. And he went to a concert and he heard this flute, and he saw this particular opera that in front of him, and he realized that how different people and characters in that opera gave him a way to think about how life is beautiful and how we need to look at life in different aspects. So we need to, again, I will go back to the same thing, need to create this Papageno effect in our lives. What we need to really think in that particular moment, when we are having those thoughts of vulnerabilities, when we're having those thoughts of overwhelmingness, that it is important, there is no problem which cannot be resolved. All we need to do is to be able to hold ourselves in that moment and reach out for help. So we need to continue to build support systems, robust support systems, whether it comes from the organization, whether it comes from family, whether it comes from friends, whether it comes from in society, particularly when it comes to stress and overwhelmingness and any kind of loss for that matter. The people who are fortunate needs to help the people who are unfortunate. That is very, very important. So the kind of support systems and awareness that we can build in. And since I mentioned that um, a lot of people are already, you will see signs and symptoms in them of undergoing stress, a lot of stress, and it is very important for us to recognize the signs and symptoms. It could be one, they begin to isolate themselves from social interactions. They begin to have a sense of low mood, and you would see that they're not their normal self, they're feeling very low, they're not engaging in interactions, whether it is within the family environment, whether it is with colleagues. They prefer to be isolated. They are having disturbances in sleep. There is a disturbance in terms of appetite. There is disturbance in difficulty concentration. Sometimes in their talk, when they're talking, in their interaction, you would see a sense of them feeling low and negative towards life, not being able to see anything positive in their conversations and interactions. These are the red flags that we need to have and understand. And the moment we see that in any person who is close to us, whether it is a colleague, whether it is a family member, we need to offer our support, extend our support, and talk to them as to what is it that they're going through, and help them and remind them there is no problem that cannot be resolved. So an early identification, awareness of symptoms of depression, symptoms of stress and overwhelmingness, taking it also to primary healthcare, healthcare for that matter, also in terms of awareness and identification, how can they also